If you are applying to law school, this will give you the information you need to ace the process. If you aren't yet sure if law is for you, watch Considering Law School first. Today we'll cover the overall timeline, LSAC, the law school application components, and selecting schools. So your timeline is about 1 year in advance. Law school does have rolling admissions, and we suggest that you aim to get your application in around late November or Thanksgiving, the year before you plan to attend law school. So they will start giving away seats, giving away scholarship money, beginning in the late fall. So you want to have your application in early in order to be most competitive. There are 4 components similar to your undergraduate application. There's the test scores, which is the LSAT. There are letters of recommendation, and there are personal statements and transcripts. So these are the 4 pieces that you're going to try to complete by late November. Now this is a guideline, a suggestion. If your application is later than this for various reasons, you can still be a strong candidate for law school. Now the LSAT is going to take the majority of your time. So first thing you want to do is sign up for an account on LSAC. LSAC is going to be your home base when applying to law school. You're going to want to create an account. This is where you will also register for the LSAT. You will need to sign up for the Credential Assembly Service. This is where you'll request recommendations and transcripts and apply to law schools. So here you will find information on the LSAT, so you can register for that. You will find information on considering your law schools as well as applying. So this has a lot of great details on applying. You will need to sign up for this Credential Assembly Service. So this is required to apply to most ABA, American Bar Association approved law schools in the United States. All ABA approved law school applications are available through your CAS account as well. So it does streamline the process. So there is a fee for the CAS, but you cannot request your transcripts or your letters of recommendation until you sign up for this account. So the LSAT. So this is going to be the bulk of your time in your application process. You're generally going to want to give yourself 2 to 3 months preparation time, which means that if you're trying to apply by late November or Thanksgiving, then you're probably going to be taking the LSAT in the summer or early fall. So in the summer or early fall, there are test dates. There are 4, sometimes 5 test dates in a year. You can take one that falls in that time frame that gives you the time to prepare. So sometimes students are interested in taking that June LSAT, but due to classes, if they're still in school, it's difficult to take the time to really prepare well. Ideally, you're aiming to take this once, so you're scheduling it when you know you have those several months of preparation time in order to do your best. People often wonder if they should study on their own or do a test prep course. I've seen students and alumni succeed in both ways. It really depends on your style, what you need as a student, and how you think you're going to be successful. A couple points makes a difference. So you want to really set yourself up for success. There are certainly pros and cons. Courses are expensive. They also provide some structure, and for folks who learn verbally and like to talk things through, it's nice to have somebody to talk through, get coaching, ask questions, get feedback. For those who are able to set their schedule, work it through, and really work through a book, self-study can work great. Just make sure if you're doing self-study that you are taking a number of timed practice tests under testing conditions so that you're really forcing yourself to work through at the pace that you would have to on the test itself. Letters of recommendation, most schools are asking for 2 to 3. You should consider people who know you well and are able to speak to the skills relevant to law schools. If you can ask in person, it's really helpful. I recommend asking something along the lines of, do you have the time to write me an excellent letter of recommendation for law school? That gives them an out if they don't feel they can write you an excellent letter. And it's a gentle way of asking the question because you really do want an excellent letter. Then give them the information they need. Share your goals, your resume, work that you've done, and also give them the skills law schools are seeking, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. You will need to request these letters through your CAS account. So once you have set up that Credential Assembly Service account within LSAC, then you can put in your recommender's name and then electronically send them the request. But first you want to have that conversation. Here are the skills and knowledge that law schools are looking for. So these are the kinds of things it would be great for your recommenders to speak to. It also may help you decide who would be a good recommender. Can they speak to these skills? Most schools are going to require at least one academic reference letter of recommendation, and usually these are the kinds of skills that you're going to be using in your classes: research, communication, writing, that kind of thing. Transcripts. So similar, you're going to create a transcript request form within your CAS account. So when you add your institution, you're going to add UVM as your institution. Then it will create a specific transcript request form for UVM. So you want to make sure that that transcript request form from LSAC accompanies your transcript. So connect with the registrar. Usually you're going to have to fill out an online form requesting a transcript from the registrar and make sure that you sign and then deliver or scan and email the transcript request form over to the registrar's office that same day. But check in with them to make sure you're following their procedures. Also, be sure to obtain transcripts from other institutions you've attended: community colleges, summer courses, transfer institutions, study abroad. You want to make sure that you're being proactive in requesting these transcripts, as sometimes they can take time and you don't want that to hold up your application. Now, your personal statement is the next place where you're going to be spending some time in your application. This gives the admissions reps a sense of your motivation and strength and the experience and perspective that you'd bring to the cohort. So this helps them beyond the numbers, beyond your GPA, beyond your LSAT score. Who are you? What motivates you? Why do you want to come to law school? And what kind of unique perspective might you bring? Generally, the questions are going to be fairly general, which can be easy and also difficult, depending. So I generally suggest some reflection before you start writing, thinking about why do you want to go to law school? What experiences have shaped your path? What have been some big turning points? What strengths do you think that you would bring to law school and a career in law? So do a little journaling or writing, free writing ahead of time before you start to write a really structured statement, just thinking about what are some highs and lows, what are the turning points, what have been things you've been really proud of, things that have been challenging. Think about some stories that you might have to tell, because this is your story. This is not an academic paper. This is not a philosophical paper. They're trying to understand who you are as a person. Schedule enough time to work through at least 3 drafts so that you have time to do some just free writing, write an initial rough draft, and then work through several more. So you want to make sure that you kind of pace that out and give yourself the time to do that. And seek feedback from the Writing Center, pre-law advisors, career counselors. Seek feedback along the way. So law school choice. How do you decide which school is right for you? There's a lot to consider here. People often think about the reputation or ranking of the school. Certainly can be a factor. Location can also be very important. Where do you picture living and working in your life after law school? You may want to think about schools that are in that area and have recruiting relationships, alumni in the area where you want to live and work. Class offerings could be one if there's particular programs that are of interest to you. If you're really interested in the environment, that could shape your choice of law school. The atmosphere and culture of a school. Is it a competitive school, a collaborative school? Do you feel comfortable there? The racial and ethnic diversity of the school. What are the dynamics of the school in that way? Cost. How much does it cost? Often a factor, although scholarships certainly could play in. It's hard to know until you get those acceptance letters. And the employment prospects. What are the alumni doing after they graduate? So there's a lot of great resources to do some research on this. Certainly you should use LSAC. And there's other resources on the go.uvm.edu/law page. I recommend that you look at the ABA required disclosures. This is a resource that you're going to want to bookmark. So these 509 required disclosures, every school has to provide them. So, for example, Boston University, you could look up Boston University, and you can get some very specific information about their LSAT scores and GPA. So you will see the median score is a 165 for the LSAT. The median GPA is a 3.73. That means 50% of the admitted class is above this, 50% is below. So as you start working on your school list, you're going to want to make sure you have some schools where you're right on target here, right around the median. Some schools may be where you're even above the 75th. And then if there are schools where you're below that 25th, those are going to be your reach schools. So similar to undergrad, you're going to put together a list of schools that has those three different sort of levels. LinkedIn is really useful to see where alumni from different law schools have gone. So if you are interested in Boston University, you can go to your LinkedIn account and you can look up the law school. Official law page, Boston University School of Law. You can then go and see their alumni. And you can see there's 15,000 plus alumni here. You can see where they're living, where they're working, what they're doing. So you can see what percentage of them is in the Boston area. Looks like there's also a good number in New York. So if you're thinking geographically where you want to be, that could be helpful. It could also be helpful if there are particular firms that you're interested in or particular pieces, like you're interested in entrepreneurship. You can also look at particular profiles and see what people are doing with that law degree. So that can be very helpful as you put together your school list. Also take advantage of all opportunities to talk with law school reps, go to events at UVM, visiting law schools, law school forums, that kind of thing. You want the chance to really learn more about these schools and if they're going to be a good fit for you from a number of different factors. So how many to apply to? 6 is average, so that would give you sort of those 2 reach, 2 right on your level, and 2 where you're pretty comfortable. But many apply to more because the application process is so streamlined, so it's very individual. And really ask yourself, would I really go to this school if admitted? So if you wouldn't go, it may not be worth the work and the application fee to apply. The good news is that UVM applicants are consistently admitted to ABA-approved law school, about 10 percentage points higher than the national average. So when the national average has been around 70, UVM has been about 80% of our applicants getting into an ABA-approved law school. So we've maintained that for many years now. UVM pre-law advisors are here to help you with your particular situation, give you feedback on your personal statement, and more. So reach out, and you can find their contact information and more at go.uvm.edu/law. And here are the law schools you've been looking at for inspiration.